Okay.
So this is the Team A, and today we will talk about the Horizon Report 2015 Museum Edition. So there are three parts in this report: the key trends, significant challenge, and the important developments. So the first part is the key trend. So there are three trends in this report. So the museum wanted to develop education technology adoption for the next 1 to 2 years. So they need to expand the concept of visitors and increase focus on participatory experience. I think this is the easier part to achieve. If the museum use the social media or the high technology. And the second part, and the second turn is the midterm. So the museum wanted to increase cross institution collaboration and increase focus on the data analytics for museum operation to in 5 years. So it means they need to work with other institutions to share their information or the resource. And I think in order to increase focus on the data analytics, they have to increase their resource of technology in the museum, and maybe they need to hire more technology guy and help them to build a database in the future. And the long term is they need to expand the boundary of creativities and have a rise of private companies in museum edition in 5 or more years. So this is the hardest part because how to expand the creativity for the people and rise the education of museum in the future. So I think they need to finish the former two parts. So it means they need to finish the long term the short term trends and the mid-term trends, and then they can do this part. So now the next part is the challenge. Norma?
Sure. And I drew a lot of, as you can see, the challenges here of that museums have gone into, and I thought that was a very poignant comparison to school organizations or educational organizations, where some of the solvable, the difficult, and the wicked challenges that they have encountered, education organizations have encountered as well. And along with the solvable challenges, it's really increasing the digitalization, agility, flexibility, usability of technology into the organization. And it's not just developing a website. It's much more deeper than that. It's setting up a framework, establishing data departments, and really incorporating that whole technology concept into all levels of the organization. Some of the it includes having policy changes and organizational changes and planning for that and budget allocations and all of that goes into that. Some of the difficulty that goes along with that is of course balancing the connected and unconnected lives. And we've all known or heard of the it's called the photo taking impermanent effect, where do you focus on the experience or do you focus on capturing the experience so you can relive the experience later? And I think that's very applicable to classrooms. So you want to enhance the interaction with digital technology in the classroom, but you don't want it to take place of anything that is happening in the classroom. So I thought that was a lot of correlation in between those two. And then you begin to consider what point of impact does technology have that has the most impact? Is it the devices? Is it the apps? Is it the software? Is it, accessibility? All of that, it has to be taken into consideration before you can be, as Yuding said, solve the wicked challenges. And wicked challenges, maintaining the progress that you make in technology, and kind of, going back and building upon the foundations that you already have, and then encouraging the progress and keeping that forward momentum going, as well as making sure how much do you want to share with your privacy concerns, how much is sharing too much, how much is not sharing enough. And so having those challenges to kind of take into consideration as frameworks and foundations for your organization, whether that be a school or a museum. And then considering that, you have your time for adoption, which Lisa will continue and share with us.
Okay, so for near term, 1 year or less, they have bring your own device and games and gamification. And so bring your own device, they just kind of talked about meeting their visitors where they're at, and most visitors have a smartphone or a device that they're comfortable with and that they're frequently on, and so how they can incorporate them using their device throughout the museum. And then games and gamification is, again, trying to make it more visitor-centered and more interactive, so finding a way to kind of engage them in a more entertaining way where they're learning about the exhibits and the information at the museum, but through games. Midterm, 2 to 3 years, location-based services and maker spaces. The location-based services, they talked about technology that would really just pinpoint exactly where they are in the museum and in the exhibits, and be able to provide information about what it is they're looking at that particular spot. So again, it's using their device to provide visitors with more information. And then maker spaces, again, we're talking about making a shift toward making it where it's very centered on the visitors. And so maker spaces would allow the visitors to create their own artwork or their own exhibit pieces while there. So they wouldn't just be looking at things, they could also get involved and create some of their own stuff. And then far term would be 4 to 5 years, and they talked about natural user interface and the Internet of Things. These are a little harder to implement. Natural user interface is one, using technology in a very natural way, but also that the technology picks up on like your expressions and your tone of voice and your body language, which can be a little more nuanced to try to work out. And then the Internet of Things is a new way to kind of work on preserving and kind of anticipating if something is in danger, like some of the exhibit pieces are in danger of like falling apart or being damaged. And so again, that's a little more complicated technology, so it would take a little longer to implement.
So that's it.